Hi everybody, welcome back to the Snake Pit. I'm Snake and I'm happy to be back with you again. I know I've taken a little bit of time off to take care of some things, so I haven't had any videos out in the last little while. But I've got something special for you today. I've decided that I'm running out of time to get all these heroes out to you looking long range. I want to get them out a little bit faster. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to do these in a new format. I'm going to give these individual hero ratings in blocks of heroes as opposed to one at a time. This way I can get you the information much faster, and that means I can get back to the analysis that really matters to a few of you. And those are going to be things like the mana speed project that I'm working on, and things to help us understand these different war types more. So as new heroes come out, we can understand exactly where they fit. So when I do these new groupings, I figure I do them in blocks of like, I'll do season 1, and I'll do season 2, season 3, season 4, heroes of the month, event heroes. We'll see how it breaks up, but this is how I envision it, and this is going to be the first trial run. So I hope you like it this way, and then I can get on to those other things that you guys have been asking for and I've been saying I'm going to get to. The only downside to this is that there'll be less analysis of each hero, which maybe some of you are just here for the stats anyways. So it could be good, could be bad. At the end of the video, please just put into the comments what you think of the new format for the individual heroes. On that note too, if you haven't subscribed, please do. I could use some more subscribers so I can get to some more functions, such as being able to put out community notes and ask questions and polls on things like this, as opposed to jumping into the fire and trying it out. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start with Season 2 heroes. So I'm going to do a block of these, and for each one of these blocks, I'm not going to do all heroes. Some of them have only been used a handful of times. I put the cutoff at 90. So if they've been used 90 times during my 1-year war study, then to me they've been used enough, and that's kind of where I put the cutoff line. So you may not see all of them. If you have a hero in mind that you want to know about and is not featured in its respective block, then by all means, just put it in the comments, ask me the question. I will respond personally every time. So season 2, let's go to that. When season 2 came out, it is a fascinating time because there was new heroes, some new skills that we hadn't seen before. But in hindsight, with the amount of power creep that's going on with all the other new heroes that are like just coming out of the floodgates today, the power creep was very minimal compared to season 1. And they were also harder to get in season 1, which means that we didn't get to see that many in the wars. They're not used very often. For instance, the most used hero from season 2 is Ursena. And Ursena ranks only 23rd on the list for most used hero. So that is there's not a lot up there, and that could be because they're not as easy to get as the season 1s for the free to plays, and it could also be because they're really not that useful. In any case, we're going to get into this, and I'm going to show you some of the heroes from season 2, the most used ones, and we'll talk about how well they did. So let's get to it. Now, before I get started, I'm just going to give you a precursor that none of the season 2 heroes that are in this video have costumes or costume bonus. So this is all data from my version 1. Version 2 that I'm still collecting data on may contain some costumes and the season 2 heroes with costume bonus. I can imagine that just those boosted stats will help them out a little bit, but just so you know, These are straight up Season 2 heroes, and no costume bonus on any of them. So, like I said, Ursena was the most used Season 2 hero. And so I'm going to do these in order of highest representation in the stats. So she'll go first. And here's the format that I'm proposing to show you guys. I'll take a little extra time on this slide, but I promise you my plan is to zing through these things. So all the stats are going to be put up right away. You can pause it on any one that you need to record data if that's what you do, or just to refer to it. So the chart on the right hand side, of course, I've got all the war types listed down with tank, flank, wing, and then we see the survival rate there. You can compare it to the survival rate under the war type. You'll see I put it there for reference, and I'm using the same colors that I have before. Red is over 2% below the average. Yellow would be with up, plus or minus 2% from the average of all heroes. And then anything green is going to be over 2% higher. Ursena, she does better at flank than wing, because she does double damage. And again, I'm also not going to read through all the cards because most of you know everything about it and can look it up elsewhere. But one of her skills is she does double damage to the targets if they have more than half their health remaining. So she will typically do 130% damage, but then it goes to 260% damage. And this is to all enemies if they got more than 50%. So this makes sense why she does better at tank and flank, is because those enemies are getting hit way harder when she's in that position. When she's at wing, she's only hitting half as hard on some of those enemies that have already been beaten down a little bit. So much more effective when she fires early, which is why I think she does better at tank and flank. The other thing to note, so she's got to reflect for all status effects and 115% damage from holy enemies. It's an awesome skill, but any attacker with half a brain can easily avoid this major part of her special. That part is better suited for offense when you can match her up against holy enemies, and you can time the reflect properly. On defense, you don't have that luxury, and the attacking hero, or the attacking team rather, they got the advantage because they don't have to bring them if they don't want to. So then she just becomes straight up damage, and she loses that reflectability. So overall, she's an average tank, she's an average flank, and on the wing, not so effective. Let's move on now. Ariel, second most used hero. If you look at her right away, she doesn't have as much red. I mean, in Rush, okay, she does a bit because there's some choice heroes there, right? But she's pretty average, and she's average across the board. If you look at the overall down in the bottom left corner, and she's used mostly at flank. Have a look at that. 204 times Vice, 50 and 69 on the wing. But she performs average in each one of these spots. Her worst performance, if you look at the chart on the right and it hits you like a ton of bricks, 23.8% at flank and Undead Horde. Don't be bothered by this. It's not surprising. I mean, it is surprising when you look at, wow, she doesn't do that poorly in flank and other places. But in this war type, it is the worst showing across all war types for a single healer at flank. Okay, 25.3% is the average. So she's actually kind of right there. All healers, when used singly, do very poorly in that spot. But outside of that, she's pretty decent. And, that mana generation, I like it a lot. And yeah, she's an average hero. You can't go wrong with her, but there are better out there. Now on to Kageburado. So Kageburado overall is par for the course when looking at the typical sniper. They generally do poorly at tank and then do increasingly well as they're positioned towards the outside. I explained this in my attack boost video towards the back when I was starting with that analysis, and that's one of those things I want to continue doing to get you guys some solid numbers on the different types of hitters. But he's pretty typical for a sniper. With that said, teams with Cage at tank have done shockingly well in 3 war types. Only Undead Horde really keeps his stats way down below average. But I just want to remind you, with that column on the right hand side for times used, Cage has been kind of sprinkled around, used kind of all over. I mean, wing is obviously where he's used most, but hasn't been used much at tank, hasn't been used much at flank. I would say that these numbers are pretty unreliable overall for Kageburado. And it's no surprise that Kageburado does poorly in rush wars. Being a very fast hero, it's going to be down in the pits for sure. Move on to Poseidon. All right, there's no data at all for Poseidon at tank. Okay, I've said it before in my other videos. No teams that we faced during that year-long study used Holy in that position. And after just explaining with Kageburado that snipers do better the further out they are, from the tank position, Poseidon makes a liar out of me. Okay, I have a good idea why, though. He does better at flank than wing, although it is very small. But part of his special is that all allies resist new negative mana effects and new effects that block usage of special skills for 3 turns. So the key word is new, right? He needs to fire this before the attackers do. So this part of his special will come late if he's on the wing, right? So the attackers will probably get their special off before him, and then this part's no good. But if he's on the tank or the flank, there's a good chance that he can protect the team with that part. Poseidon is on the high side of average. So if you look at flank and wing, he is average, but he's on the high side. So he's actually a pretty good sniper. But again, some pretty low usage. We're getting down. I told you that Season 2 was not used very much. So some of these heroes may be lackluster, but these may also be some person's gem, right? The free-to-play players may only have a handful of non-Season 1. So good news for you if this is you. Poseidon is a decent hero to be using at flank and wing. If you use him at tank, I'd love to hear how well he did. So now we move on to Mitsuko. And Mitsuko possesses the highly effective ability to reduce mana to the target and nearby enemies. Okay, for this reason, she shares a lot of success at tank with other heroes that do the same. If you recall, my video for Guinevere showed how well she did that in Rush. Mitsuko's in a different ballgame though, because she's of the fire element, and you can't get that Dark Holy combo up the middle with her. But never underestimate how far an attacking team can be set back with getting that mana reduced. If you think about it, you've probably been in that position before. You have just enough tiles on the board to charge up, and suddenly you've either maybe killed Freya or Bera, or someone like Mitsuko goes off, and now you've lost your charge, and there's no combinations on the board for you to make that up, and now you're just pumping tiles into the defending team, and you're charging them up, and you get wiped out. So it's a very effective skill to have. But sadly, she hasn't been used much at tank. Only 13 times overall. but is almost above average in that category, right? She's an average, but she's almost in the green. Like Ursena though, savvy attackers can easily avoid her reflect by leaving the blues on the bench, and that makes her full potential only realized on offense. So again, with these reflect heroes, very cool, very effective, but AI is not smart enough to sort this out on defense, but on offense, really effective. Nonetheless, she's still useful. Just keep her towards the center of your formation, right? So that mana reduction can come into play. All right, so last on the list is Atomos. And Atomos enjoyed a buff back in May of 2020 that saw an increase in damage and the mana speed increase from slow to average. You would have thought that this buff would have been significant and we would have seen a lot more of this hero, but we didn't. This Atomos is like, well, it's the last one I'm going to cover from Season 2 and just made the cutoff for the amount of times used. And I think that maybe, 90 might be the right spot for these because honestly, there's a lot of numbers that are unreliable here with Atomos. If you recall that buff that Atomos got, that was the same time that Telluria and Vila got their nerf. Okay, so this is going back a little ways. But anyways, looking at the stats, as you can see from the far right column, not used very much. So in almost all these categories, the data is pretty unreliable. Atomos' high scores at tank for arrow barrage and rush are particularly suspect. On the overall average, we look down at tank. Doesn't look too bad at 29.9. It's actually above the cutoff. But when we look at tank for arrow barrage and rush, we're at 46.7%, 50%. I don't even really have to go too far out on a limb to say that those numbers are going to come down if this hero is used today at tank in those spots. But maybe there's something. Again, I love to hear from those that actually use these heroes that I don't have a lot of data for, to see how well they perform for them. But it is what it is. The right now what I've got for data is pretty suspect on those fronts. Use six times on the wing. That's pretty decent. You're gonna see that yellow that I used in the overall average is a little bit on the orange side because that is right on the cusp of being red, and that's where we've seen Atomos the most. So that's the biggest idea. Not very great there. One thing though that's certain is the poor scores in Equalizer are probably well deserved, even though there's not a lot of usage there, because the best part of the special to revive is going to get wiped clean when Equalizer comes by, and an attacker can easily avoid killing him until the Equalizer goes off. So you don't even need to bring a Dispeller to get rid of that pesky part of the special. You can just wait that one out rather easily. So low usage at tank and flank, like I said, almost red in the wing. Okay, unless you don't have other greens, I recommend leaving Atomos on the bench. All right, folks, that's it for this new format. I need to know, did you like it? Do you want me to continue to do it this way? Do you want me to just handpick, some of the more top heroes to do singly, or better to get this out of the way so I can move on to those other projects I'm working on that will help us understand war types as a whole? Leave it in the comments. And again, I apologize for the short break that I'd taken for videos. I'm going to try to get these out more often and quickly. As you can see, I'm trying to be a little bit more innovative to get you the data as quick as possible. In any case, I thank you so much for dropping by and watching the video. If you like it and you dig this kind of data, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications so that when I pop these things out, they're there for you. So I hope everyone's having a great day, and I'll see you next time. I'm Snake, and I'm here to help you defend yourself.